Ladies and gentlemen, this is how political parties work. Bill Clinton is caught with his pants down. Oh my goodness, somebody up there doesn't like me. What is? Oh my goodness, we were just talking about intercontinental ballistic missiles. And he gets caught with his pants down. The entire Democratic Party stands behind him, defends him, protects him from Republicans, acquits him, even though he actually did commit perjury and obstruction of justice. That's what he was impeached. Like, these are legal statutes that he broke. What is? I mean, how can is not having relations? Is I not telling the truth? What is? So, his deposition was hilarious. And the entire Democratic Party stood behind him, defended him. Same with the Republicans and George W. Bush, the worst president of all time. Failed foreign policy endeavors predicated upon intelligence failures. And to top that off, he left the country in, a near depression. But Republicans until that point, Republicans throughout his tenure defended George W. Bush, okay? Then, of course, we have Eric Holder, who was held in contempt of Congress, but Democrats. And then you had John Brennan, who actually infiltrated Dianne Feinstein's Senate to try to obtain information when they were investigating the Bush era. Anyway, at the end of the day, President Obama defended the intelligence agencies, and they defended him and the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party absolutely defended President Obama during every controversy, whether it was a Secret Service scandal. You have a whole bunch of issues. Flint, Standing Rock. You had a NATO intervention that obliterated a country. Nobody blames President Obama, even though it was his decision to engage in the NATO intervention. And the repercussions were turning a country, Libya, into a failed state. What I'm trying to say is political parties back the president that, saves the party. They back President Obama and Bill Clinton were the two of the most popular Democrats. George W. Bush was not one of the most popular Republicans, but he presided over the worst day in U.S. history, and so he took advantage of a great deal of political. He took advantage of that politically, and Republicans rallied around him. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. I should have a live stream later this evening. This is actually a breaking story. RNC rejects cease and desist demand from Trump attorneys. RNC brushes back on cease and desist demand. So they're going to utilize his likeness. They're going to utilize the name, the brand, the person that they threw under the bus. So Democrats defended Bill Clinton. Republicans defended George W. Bush. Democrats stood by and defended President Obama. NATO intervention, whatever, the Eric Holder, whatever the issues were. So much, they defended President Obama so much so that to the point where they never questioned whether or not he knew if his Secretary of State had a private servers with top secret intel. Could you imagine if Pompeo had private servers? They would say it's Trump, it's him, his immorality. He, was part of setting up the servers. And how did they transfer the top secret intelligence onto Pompeo's server? So, anyway, hit subscribe to this channel. We're back on our way to 200,000. The channel's finally moving. Gosh, we were in a lull for about 3 or 4 days now, but channel's finally moving again. Share this segment, very important. If you want to support my voice, ladies and gentlemen, to my Patreons, thank you. My Patreon link is below. If you want to support my voice, it's greatly, greatly appreciated. To my new Patreons, thank you. RNC brushes back on cease and desist demand. So let's just read this really quickly. The committee's top lawyer says in a new letter to Trump's attorney that the former president signed off on the RNC's activities in a conversation with Ronna McDaniel. In a conversation, The Republican National Committee is denying a cease and desist demand from Donald Trump's attorneys who asked the party organization to stop using the former president's name and likeness in fundraising appeals. Think about how unethical this is. You, with Jeff Sessions and Richard Burr and Paul Ryan and McCain, setting up and framing Trump with a dossier that was not intelligence. There was nothing intelligent about that dossier. A Steele dossier literally paid for by Clinton and the DNC. Where's the dossier on President Biden or Clinton or President Obama? Could you imagine if a Democrat were the subject of a dossier purchased by Clinton? Think about that. If you've lasted 5 minutes and you completely disagree with me, could you imagine? The rebuttal is inevitably, well, Trump is capable of anything and Democrats are just inherently better. It's like, no, they're not. They're not. You can you could even do some research on New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez, what he's accused of. And then that's even worse than what Andrew Cuomo's accused of, which is the same type of thing as what Bill Clinton was accused of, which is similar, although not exactly the same as what Anthony Weiner was accused of, which is almost as bad as what New York's Attorney General was alleged to have committed. I mean, you have Democrats with the most skeletons, the Democratic Party, and morally superior, apoplectic liberals, and oftentimes many left-leaning people on Twitter are today's televangelists. They're the ones who, but at least the televangelists have the good sense to say, I've sinned. Forgive me. They don't even ask, Democrats don't even ask for forgiveness when they've sinned. They either just say, it's different because it's us, which is the height of narcissism and hypocrisy. I mean, these people are many of these people are so egotistical. They're such narcissists that they not only can't admit when they're wrong, but when they engage in activity that they would condemn in a heartbeat if it were committed by, or if it were alleged to have been committed by Republicans or by Trump supporters, oh my God. When they get caught in the act, the Russians hacked the website. I'm sorry, I was a conservative back then. You know what? Look, Bernie Sanders couldn't even endorse a channel, the man who started the channel that has 4 million subs now, and he's all over the place. And that channel also, or those people had to contend with a racial discrimination lawsuit as well. Look, the left is oftentimes composed, I should say, trying to be diplomatic, of a bunch of hypocrites. That's why you always have to engage in whataboutism. Because whataboutism is called pointing out hypocrisy. When if there's a person saying, I'm a vegan, and you should be a vegan too, and you should be ashamed that you're eating meat, and that person is chomping on a bacon cheeseburger with a milkshake, that if you say, hey, you're not a vegan, you're eating a bacon cheeseburger with a milkshake, and that person says, whataboutism! You're whataboutism! Yeah, it's whataboutism. Yeah, that's what it's called. You're a hypocrite. No one should ever listen to you. You're a hypocrite. No one should listen to you about your, morality lessons or preaching or sermons or whatever. The biggest hypocrites on the planet, but their voices are amplified by Twitter. Ordinarily, whether they've been published or have a YouTube channel or on TV or wrote a book or speak in conferences or whatever, without Twitter, you'd actually have to do something. And your ideas would actually have to resonate on their own. Like the validity, the logic of your arguments would have to live on outside of a megaphone, an echo chamber, this cyber reality, this Tron for apoplectic, morally superior liberals called Twitter. But anyway, they set up and framed Trump utilizing a dossier. They went after him. You have, and this is what the most despicable part of everything. You have Republicans who vote alongside Trump 90% of the time. Most of the never-Trumpers vote alongside Trump 80 to 90% of the time. They don't like his personality. His personality is not why, he got 74 million Americans, 14 more than Mitt Romney, 14 million more than Mitt Romney. I don't even think Mitt Romney would have gotten 60 million. He got 60 million in 2012. The Republicans basically did everything possible to keep Trump, like to undermine Trump, to stab him politically, to stab in like politically in the back. And they barely stood by him and during the first impeachment, barely stood by him in the second impeachment, helped frame and set him up with Trump Russia. Basically embraced the rear end of media. Most Republicans are petrified, or I should say now probably over half are petrified of media. And the ones who aren't will be there, and the ones who are will be primary. The ones who aren't will be there in 2022. You'll have a Republican Party that eventually stands and defends President Trump. Now, did Trump act in a way that wasn't politically that gave incentive for never Trumpers to abandon him? In some ways, yes, but they were already there even before he went, his Twitter profile. Twitter did him in. He fell for a trap on Twitter. There are things that President Trump did, missteps that he should correct and address. But the Republican Party has no right. They have zero right. They're completely unethical to try to utilize his likeness or his image or his name. I mean, yeah, he did more for the Republican Party than the Republican Party did for him. He simply ran as a Republican. He's not a conservative. Well, there's a great many conservative principles that he has. But the reason he did so well is because he's not a traditional Republican. The reason he did so well is because he's not a never-Trumper. Never-Trumpers and Nancy Pelosi and Schumer and Biden aren't that different, especially on foreign policy. He's a populist on many things, especially foreign policy and tariffs. And other issues, other topics as well. That's why you have a direct line between Bernie Sanders and President Trump. And the people on the left don't get that because they watch MSNBC and CNN and they think that Trump said this, so therefore he's this, and he's a tyrant and a totalitarian and a despot. It's like, no, despots don't get framed and set up by their intelligence agencies and have the media after them 24/7. Biden is the one who helped start mass incarceration and voted alongside Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld, and helped push for the NATO intervention that destroyed a country. Trump removed America's presence, tried to remove our presence in the Middle East. He was on his way. He removed Americans from Syria. He did a whole bunch of things. The Abraham Accords, peace between Israel, UAE, Bahrain, Morocco. He was the first president to step foot in North Korea. And then you get the spin. Oh, he coddles the despots. It's like, they don't like him when he's diplomatic. They don't like him when he's not diplomatic. They don't like him at all. But anyway, Republicans now are fighting because they know they wouldn't get 2 cents. They wouldn't get $1. They wouldn't get $1 in fundraising if they had to say, hey, we're the party of Ben Sass. Boring. You might as well be the party of Nancy Pelosi. Pretty much the same thing on most issues. I mean, on grandiose issues. Give me your thoughts below. So, it's interesting. They say that Trump agreed to it. I hope Trump, this is something I hope Trump fights, because it's like you can't say that, this is unbelievable. You can't undermine a president for 4 years. You can't treat him like this, outcast that actually is helping you. They kept Congress, they kept the Senate. They did well in 2016. But it's like, you can't, you want Trump to fundraise for you because he brings electricity and energy and passion and enthusiasm. Populist messages give enthusiasm. The rebuttal is, bad people like populist messages. Yeah, and good people like the Lincoln Project message on how they went after a triple amputee, Max Cleland, a Vietnam hero, Vietnam veteran. And the individual who went after him is now writing for a liberal publication. So, there you go. You have the most despicable people oftentimes who've slithered to the left or just on the left, utilizing intelligence agencies for their own purposes, going after veterans. Look what they did to Tulsi Gabbard. Look what they did in terms of trying to recreate a new Cold War. Simply to save face because Trump won. And by the way, without Trump, you have 8 years of Clinton. So he saved this country and this world from 8 years of Hillary. I mean, he should get the Medal of Honor, Medal of Freedom just for that. But not Medal of Freedom. Or what's the civilian award? I don't mean to say the military award. But anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Trump should fight this. They have no right to use his. They have no right to use a politician that only, like, in terms of fundraising, their only chance or hope at fundraising on a national level, and their only hope at winning on a national level. They have no right to try to utilize this man when they spent 4 years trying to undermine him and align themselves with Democrats against him. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe. I'll be back later this evening. I'll have a live stream later this evening.